This is PTCB Prep Guide, and today we're diving into a 30-question scenario-based PTCE practice simulation. This quiz is built specifically to match the official exam blueprint, covering everything from medications and federal law to patient safety and math. I'm going to read each scenario, give you a moment to think, and then we'll break down the answer together. Grab a pen and paper to tally your score. Let's get started. Question number 1. A pharmacy receives a prescription for Percocet, a Schedule II controlled substance. You check the prescriber's DEA number, and it's AM4592163. Based on the standard verification formula, is this number valid? Option A, yes, the math and letters are correct. Option B, no, the second letter must be the first letter of the doctor's last name. Option C, no, the checksum digit is incorrect. Or option D, no, a Schedule II prescriber cannot have a DEA starting with M. The correct answer is option C. If you do the math adding the first, third, and fifth digits, then adding the second, fourth, and sixth digits and multiplying that sum by 2, the final total is 40. That means the last digit of the DEA number should be a 0, not a 3. Moving right along to question number 2. Now let's talk compounding. You're preparing a non-sterile, oil-based ointment that does not contain any water. According to USP 795, what is the maximum beyond use date, or BUD? Option A, 14 days. Option B, 30 days. Option C, 6 months. Or option D, 1 year. The correct answer is option C, 6 months. Since there's no water in the base, the preparation is much more stable and less likely to grow bacteria than an oral liquid or a water-based cream. Taking a look at question number 3, here is a math one. A patient has a 10-day supply of a medication. The directions say, take 2 tablets 4 times a day for 3 days, then 1 tablet 3 times a day for 7 days. What is the total quantity you need to dispense? Option A, 45 tablets. Option B, 31 tablets. Option C, 52 tablets. Or option D, 42 tablets. The answer is option A, 45 tablets. For the first 3 days, they need 24 tabs. For the next 7 days, they need 21. Add those up, and you get 45. Up next is question number 4. Imagine a patient is picking up warfarin 5 milligram. During the conversation, they mention they are starting a new high-protein diet and eating a lot of spinach. Why should you alert the pharmacist? Option A, spinach has high levels of vitamin K, which can make the warfarin less effective. Option B, spinach contains iron, which causes toxicity. Option C, high-protein diets stop the drug from being absorbed. Or option D, it's actually fine. Spinach is heart healthy. It's option A. Warfarin is a vitamin K antagonist. Spinach is loaded with vitamin K, which essentially acts as an antidote to the drug. A big change in their diet could lead to a dangerous blood clot because the medicine isn't working as intended. For question number 5, check your shelves. You pull a bottle of medication and the expiration date says June 2025. On which day does this medication officially expire? Option A, June 1st. Option B, June 15th. Option C, June 30th. Or option D, May 31st. The answer is option C. In the pharmacy world, if only the month and year are listed, the drug is considered good until the very last day of that month. Let's dive into question number 6. A prescription for a Schedule IV drug was written on January 1st with 5 refills. On what date does this prescription expire? Option A, July 1st. Option B, January 1st of next year. Option C, April 1st. Or option D, June 1st. The correct answer is option A. Federal law says Schedule 3 and 4 prescriptions are only valid for 6 months from the date they were written, or until the 5 refills are used, whichever happens first. Heading over to question number 7, let's move into the clean room. You're cleaning a laminar airflow workbench. What's the correct direction to wipe? Option A, front to back, then top to bottom. Option B, back to front, side to side, starting from the top. Option C, circular motions from the center. Or option D, bottom to top, then back to front. The answer is option B. You always clean from the cleanest area, which is the back near the HEPA filter, toward the dirtiest area at the front opening, using side-to-side, overlapping strokes. Quick pause. How are you feeling about your quiz results up to this point? Hopefully you're crushing it. If you find value in these videos, Hitting that subscribe button is the best way to help the channel grow. It really makes a difference in allowing me to put more time into high-quality content for this community. Back to the quiz. How about question number 8, calculation time? You need 150 milliliters of dextrose 10%. You only have dextrose 50% and dextrose 5% in stock. How many milliliters of the 50% solution do you need? Option A, 16.7 milliliters. Option B, 133.3 milliliters. Option C, 25 milliliters. Or option D, 50 milliliters. The answer is option A, 16.7 milliliters. This is a classic alligation problem. By setting up your grid, you find you need 5 parts of the 50% and 40 parts of the 5%. That is 5 parts out of 45 total parts multiplied by 150. Turning our attention to question number 9. When you are looking at a patient's insurance card, you see a code labeled PCN. What does that stand for? Option A, pharmacy control number. Option B, patient care network. Option C, prescriber certification number. Or option D, primary care node. The answer is option A. The pharmacy control number is used by the insurance processor to route the electronic claim to the correct destination. Now for question number 10. A drug disease interaction alert pops up on your computer screen. Which of these fits that description? Option A, a patient taking 2 brands of the same drug. Option B, a patient taking a drug that is contraindicated because they have asthma. Option C, a patient taking a dose that is too high. Or option D, an interaction between a drug and a herbal supplement. It's option B. This happens when a medication used to treat one condition has a negative effect on another pre-existing condition. A classic example is a certain type of blood pressure medicine making asthma symptoms worse. Switching gears for question number 11. Quick math. How many grams of sodium chloride are in a 500 milliliter bag of normal saline, which is 0.9%? Option A, 45 grams. Option B, 0.45 grams. Option C, 4.5 grams. Or option D, 9 grams. The answer is option C, 4.5 grams. Since 0.9% means 0.9 grams for every 100 milliliters, you just multiply 0.9 by 5 to get the amount for a 500 milliliter bag. Checking out question number 12. A prescription says, amoxicillin 250 milligrams per 5 milliliters, take 1 teaspoon 3 times a day for 10 days. What is the total volume you need to dispense? Option A, 100 milliliters. Option B, 150 milliliters. Option C, 200 milliliters. Or option D, 75 milliliters. The answer is option B, 150 milliliters. 1 teaspoon is 5 milliliters. 3 times a day makes 15 milliliters total per day. Over 10 days, that equals 150. Let's look at question number 13. You hear about a Class 1 recall for a specific drug. What does that mean for the public? Option A, the product is unlikely to cause health problems. Option B, the product may cause serious adverse health consequences or death. Option C, the product may cause temporary or reversible health issues. Or option D, it is just a minor labeling error. The answer is option B. Class 1 is the most serious recall, reserved for products that could cause life-threatening reactions. Class 2 is intermediate, and Class 3 is the least serious. Moving on to question number 14. If you are handling hazardous drugs like chemotherapy, what does USP 800 say you must wear? Option A, 1 pair of gloves. Option B, just a standard lab coat. Option C, double chemotherapy-rated gloves and a non-permeable gown. Or option D, nothing special, just standard hand hygiene. It's option C. For hazardous drugs, safety is the priority. You need double gloves and a gown specifically designed to prevent chemicals from soaking through to your skin. Here is question number 15. A prescription says, Lantus 10 units, SCQHS. When should the patient take it? Option A, every morning. Option B, before meals. Option C, at bedtime. Or option D, every other day. The answer is option C. QHS is the Latin abbreviation for taking a medication every night at bedtime. Coming up is question number 16. To process a prescription for the acne medication isotretinoin, which program must the pharmacy, doctor, and patient be registered with? Option A, iPledge. Option B, STEPS. Option C, REMS check. Or option D, thalidomide education. The correct answer is option A, iPledge. This is a mandatory safety program to ensure the drug is not taken during pregnancy due to high risks of birth defects. Let's try question number 17. A patient has a co-insurance of 20%. If the total drug cost is $150, how much is the patient's share? Option A, $20. Option B, $130. Option C, $30. Or option D, $120. The answer is option C. 20% of $150 is $30. Remember, co-insurance is a percentage of the total cost, while a copay is a fixed flat fee. Let's consider question number 18. Which of these medications must be kept in its original, unopened glass container to ensure it stays stable? Option A, nitroglycerin sublingual. Option B, atorvastatin. Option C, levothyroxine. Or option D, hydrochlorothiazide. The answer is option A, nitroglycerin. These tablets are volatile. They can evaporate or even be absorbed by plastic vials, so they must stay in the original glass. Here's a tricky one. Question number 19. You only have 15 tablets of a Schedule II drug in stock, but the script asks for 60. How long do you have to supply the rest to the patient? Option A, 24 hours. Option B, 72 hours. Option C, 7 days. Or option D, 30 days. The answer is option B, 72 hours. Under standard federal law, if you cannot fill the rest by then, the prescription becomes void for the remaining amount, and you have to notify the doctor. We are at question number 20 now. What is the goal of geometric dilution during compounding? Option A, to make the mixture look uniform. Option B, to ensure a small amount of potent drug is mixed evenly into a large base. Option C, to increase the total weight. Or option D, to keep the ingredients from melting. The correct answer is option B. It is a systematic way of mixing ingredients to ensure that the active drug is spread perfectly throughout the base, so every dose is identical. Taking a look at question number 21. A patient asks if they can take Advil while they are already taking the blood thinner Coumadin. What is your best response? Option A, yes, they do not interact. Option B, no, you should take Aleve instead. Option C, I will have the pharmacist speak with you about that combination. Or option D, yes, as long as you separate the doses by 4 hours. The answer is option C. As a technician, you should never give clinical advice. Both medications can increase bleeding risks, so the pharmacist must perform the consultation. On to question number 22. How many milligrams of a drug are in a 30-gram tube of 0.5% ointment? Option A, 150 milligrams. Option B, 15 milligrams. Option C, 1.5 milligrams. Or option D, 50 milligrams. The answer is option A, 150 milligrams. 0.5% means 0.5 grams per 100 grams. For a 30-gram tube, that is 0.15 grams, which equals 150 milligrams. For question number 23, take a look at this NDC number, 00456-0123-120. Which part tells you the package size? Option A, the first segment. Option B, the middle segment. Option C, the last segment. Or option D, none of them. The answer is option C. The last segment of an NDC always identifies the package size, like a 30-count bottle or a 100-count bottle. Let's look at question number 24. A prescription comes in for Zocor 20 milligram. What is the generic name for this drug? Option A, atorvastatin. Option B, lovastatin. Option C, simvastatin. Or option D, pravastatin. The correct answer is option C. Zocor is simvastatin. Lipitor is atorvastatin, and Mevacor is lovastatin. We have question number 25 next. A technician accidentally puts a vial of 10 units per milliliter insulin in a hospital cabinet slot meant for 100 units per milliliter insulin. What kind of error is this? Option A, administration error. Option B, prescribing error. Option C, mechanical error. Or option D, filling or replenishment error. The answer is option D. It is a replenishment error. This is very dangerous because it could lead to a nurse or doctor administering the wrong strength to a patient later on. Now for question number 26. According to the Controlled Substances Act, How should Schedule II records be stored in the pharmacy? Option A, mixed in with all other prescriptions. Option B, in a completely separate file from all other records. Option C, mixed in with Schedule 3 through 5 records. Or option D, they can be discarded after 1 year. The answer is option B. Federal law is very strict here. Schedule II records must be kept entirely separate from all other pharmacy paperwork. Let's try question number 27. A prescription says, Vigamox, 1-GTTOD-TID. Where is the patient supposed to put this medication? Option A, in the right ear. Option B, in the left eye. Option C, in the right eye. Or option D, in both eyes. The answer is option C. OD stands for the right eye. Remember, dexter means right and sinister means left. Getting close with question number 28. You need to measure exactly 0.5 milliliters of a liquid for a compound. Which of these tools is the most accurate for the job? Option A, 10 milliliter graduated cylinder. Option B, 5 milliliter oral syringe. Option C, 1 milliliter tuberculin syringe. Or option D, 50 milliliter beaker. The answer is option C. You always want to use the smallest measuring device possible that can hold the total volume. A 1 milliliter syringe will be much more precise for a half milliliter dose. Let's see question number 29. A Z-Pak prescription has these directions. Take 2 tablets on day 1, then 1 tablet daily for days 2 through 5. How many total tablets are in that pack? Option A, 5 tablets. Option B, 6 tablets. Option C, 10 tablets. Or option D, 4 tablets. The answer is option B. You have 2 tablets for the first day, plus 1 tablet for each of the next 4 days, which brings the total to 6 tablets. And finally, question number 30. Which federal agency is responsible for overseeing the safety and labeling of dietary supplements? Option A, the DEA. Option B, the FDA. Option C, OSHA. Or option D, the Joint Commission. The answer is option B, the FDA. While they don't approve supplements for efficacy the way they do for drugs, they still regulate their safety and the claims made on their labels. And that's a wrap on today's PTCE simulation. If you found these scenarios helpful, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps other aspiring techs find this study community. If you're serious about passing your exam on the first try, go ahead and subscribe and turn on those notifications. We're dropping new practice tests and deep dives into the top 200 drugs every single week. Don't forget to comment your score below. I want to see how you're doing, and it's a great way to see which areas we should cover in the next video. Whether you aced the math or got tripped up on the federal laws, we're all here to learn together. Thanks for sticking around until the very end. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing so you don't miss what's coming next.